What's up, Honors, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Prototype, the series where in each episode we check out a different prototype, animatronic, or IC from Spirit Halloween. For today's video, I have a very interesting prototype checkout. This animatronic right here is of course known as the Crimson Dragon, and was the original version of the Arctic Dragon we actually got. And this red variant here was also later sold at Costco, which was kind of interesting. So anyways, today we're going to be checking out everything about this animatronic, so let's of course get started by checking out some of the basic details about it. Alright, so looking at this animatronic here, he of course would have been known as the Crimson Dragon. He would have of course been sold in 2019, but was cancelled and was replaced by a different variant known as the Arctic Dragon. And for this guy right here, we don't know the exact price he would have retailed for, but since he is a variant of the Arctic Dragon, we can assume that he would have been right around $350. Of course, this animatronic was manufactured by SVI and would have most likely been right around 6.4 foot. And of course, this animatronic was never a Spirit exclusive and ended up later getting sold at Costco. And moving on now, before we talk about this guy's features and appearance, I just want to talk about how close this guy was to actually being in stores. Of course, looking at photos here, you can see that he was in earlier productions of the Spirit Halloween ISE for 2019, but then also he was in later productions of it too, and most likely was very close to being put into stores. But then for some reason at the last minute, it seems like they must have decided to not put him in stores and to instead replace him with the Arctic Dragon, which is kind of strange, and I really wonder why they made that decision. But overall, I guess that just makes this a very interesting prototype situation. Anyways, moving on now, let's talk about this guy's features, animations, and just appearance of him. Of course, for animation on this guy, he featured a wing flapping animation and a head turning animation, which overall wasn't too crazy, but for what this guy is, I do really like that animation they went with. And then of course, some other features he had is of course light up eyes, and then this really cool fog effect where you could hook up a fog machine and then it would spit out fog to make him look like he's breathing fire. And then yeah, looking at the appearance of this guy, I think it looks pretty good. He's supposed to be sort of like this fire dragon vibe. And overall, I think the look of it is decent. I really love that dragon head and the feet down there. Those look nice. And then the wings look alright. The one problem I have with these dragon guys is that the proportions just seem a little bit off. I don't know what it is about it, but it just doesn't really seem like it should. But overall, for what this animatronic is, it wasn't too bad a prototype, and I think it looks decent. And now, of course, moving on to the last part of this video, let's of course talk about some fun facts about this guy. Of course, one thing like I already mentioned is that he was in pretty late stages of the ISE production. But another fun fact about this guy is how he was also sold at Costco a year after. Which is pretty cool that we actually got this guy released at some point, especially since we never really get dragon animatronics other than that Arctic Dragon sold at Spirit Halloween, so it was nice to have another red variant for people to purchase. And then moving on, one more little fun fact about this guy, which I've pretty much already mentioned, is that there was another version of him that was instead sold at Spirit Halloween known as the Arctic Dragon. And of course, on screen right now, you can see a little side-by-side comparison of the two. Honestly, I've got to say, I do prefer the Arctic Dragon. I just think the gray look looks a lot better, but anyways, tell me down below what you think. And of course, with all said, everyone, that finishes it for today's video. Hopefully you all did enjoy. Of course, it was just a shorter video today, but it was still very fun to check out this interesting prototype animatronic right here, which we did get a different variant sold at Spirit Halloween, and then this prototype here was also sold at Costco, so overall, probably one of the most interesting prototypes I've covered in this series. Anyways, if you enjoyed, which I hope you did, I of course have 11 other episodes of this series that are currently out in a playlist I have linked down below, so if you want to check out more, go click on that playlist and go watch some other videos. And also make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Anyways, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.